Okay, here we go. Ready? All right, we're going to fly through this. There's a couple of things I will slow down on because they're just really important. Because of the mental illness situations that we had, I went through a 40-hour training class, and so I changed this around a bit because of that training. So I went ahead and put that right at the front because these are things that are changed a little bit, more impactful, that I would really like if you're doing security to be well aware of. All right, so next slide. Of course, no questions, wait till the end. All of you were here for the volunteer training, right? There's nobody new that just walked in at the end? Okay, great, next. Skip. We can skip that because they were here. All right, so why are you here? We need you for safety, for security, and for overcapacity. All right, so those are three areas that are very important to us, and without you, we're kind of scrambling because the shelter manager is so busy doing so many other things. You are her right-hand person, or his right-hand person, so we really do need you. Even if you're working overnight, okay, and you think, well, I'm just overnight, I don't really need, no, then one of you are gonna be security, all right? Next. All right, so it plays a vital role. One of the things is you're going to be checking for drugs, alcohol. We know that our guests smoke a little weed. We know they drink a little beer. We're okay with the buzzers. We're not okay with the intoxicated ones, okay? Because that can just get worse and worse and worse. So those are the people that we don't want in the shelter. We need you to let us know that. So while they're sitting there, you're going to want to be looking at them, and kind of doing that. You're also going to be needed to do the field sobriety with us. Will do it, but we need somebody there as a witness or that's going to be able to call 911 in case anything escalates. And so one of the things, if you can go back for a second, one of the things is, as I said, while they're there, sitting there with the bags, you saw that in the video, while you're there, you're kind of looking at them, they're doing this, or it's either they're having a medical moment or they might be a little too intoxicated. So you want to casually engage with them. That gives you a great opportunity to know what's going on, all right? Next. So the restrooms, this is the one thing that with security, it's important that if you do security that you're there at 5:15. Why? Because then the shelter manager gets there at 5. You're going to get there at 5:15. They're setting up the equipment for the night. They're doing all this. You're walking through the bathroom. You're walking through the sleeping areas. You're kind of moving the mats around. You're looking around to see if somebody tucked something somewhere. You're looking to see if during the day maybe a repairman was there and left his screwdriver sitting there. You're looking for those things. You're in the bathroom to see if anybody left a present from the night before that they plan on using. If it's the traditional type of toilet, you're lifting up the lid to see if there's baggies inside. You need to get that done, so that's why it's important to get there early, because the other volunteers are going to start showing up at 5:30, 5:45, and you need to take their temperature. Guests are going to start showing up at 5:45 to 6. You're going to be handing them the black bags doing that assessment. So it's important to get there. Many of our volunteers that are security, they show up about 6 o'clock and go, hey, I'm here for security. That gives the shelter manager about 5 minutes to train you. So that's why it's important to get there early. And and you need time to do all that. And then the other thing I put up here is because from 6 to 9, there's an off-duty officer. So that off-duty officer is there to assist you. That doesn't mean you turn to him and let him do everything. He's there as a backup. You always go get the shelter manager. And then, together you guys will figure that out. If it's really a rough situation and the shelter manager, say, is down the hall dealing with an issue, you call 911 if you have to. Say if it's after hours and the security person's gone, say it's 9:10, and you just call, and then you have to tell them, hey, I knew I needed this to happen. I called them. The shelter manager will handle it from there. Next. Keys to awareness. Your mouth, okay, can be your best or worst asset, okay? I don't like this place. This place stinks, and your food stinks. Well, if you don't like it, get out. not a good way to de-escalate, okay? So your voice, but then at the same time, that person screaming at you, go, you know, it sounds like you're having a rough night, and you know, it sounds like there's, you know, something going on. Do you want to talk about it? You know, let's go over here so we can figure out what's going on. Let's see if we can figure out, you know, how we can, you know, work through this. It just seems like you're having a bad day. So your voice and everything can change. I'm aware of that because I have an Irish temper, so it comes out quick. The shelter layout. It's important for you to understand the shelter layout. Where's the sleeping areas? Where's the bathroom? Are there any exits that, you know, are there doors that can be coming in and out? I need that awareness. Like I said, you're the right-hand person for the shelter manager. We need that. When you're talking, you know, and it's also their mannerisms. If you see somebody jumping like that, you have to ask yourself, is that a medical condition? You know, are they twitching because, you know, they're having a psychotic episode? You know, you just don't know, so it's important to be aware. And the way they interact with each other. You may see two people just, you know, jabbing at each other. They might have had a fight going on at the bus stop. We need to be aware of that so that we can nix it. You want to always try to stay calm and steady in your voice, and don't be fake. Oh, hi, how are you? They're going to see right through it, and that can only escalate the situation. Maintaining proper distance. You don't want to get up in somebody's face and go, "What's wrong? What's going on?" You don't know if they have PTSD. You don't know what's going on. You get that close up in their face, they could have a reaction. Okay, so you want to maintain that, and you don't want to. You know, I don't know what your problem is. You know, do I look like I'm very friendly right now? You know, but you know, you could say, hey, you know, how you doing tonight? So you want to present yourself in a non-threatening way, you know, but keeping your distance. All right, and so if you're working with somebody and it's escalating, it's no problem to just look over and say, you know, call 911, and then just still continue that voice that's calm, continue talking to them, because you may, by the time the police do get there, you may have been able to de-escalate, but you want to know that they're already on their way. Next. This is just a little cheat sheet. I've shown you guys this every year. It's just called CHECK. So if you're thinking, okay, CHECK, what's the C stand for? So that's just a thing for you. I think you can read, so I don't need to read that for you. Next. Balance. And so, like I was sharing with you before, if they're raising their voice, lower your voice, okay? And it will, believe it or not, just by lowering your voice when you're talking, it brings it down. It's the craziest thing. But it's like if you talk lower and lower, then they're like leaning in because they can't even hear you, and all of a sudden they're lowering their voice. It works. The goal is you want to end the crisis, and you don't want to have to call 911. That officer that's coming, he is trained in law enforcement. We have a law enforcement officer, a retired law enforcement officer here. When you come on the scene, you're at a heightened, and you're looking to, that there may be a bad scene happening, correct? And so you're preparing for that in your mind, you know, and so they're going to try to de-escalate, but they're coming with a different attitude than what we would have. And so the whole idea is we would like to avoid that if possible, because sometimes if you just give them some time to talk, it calms them down. I had one person I thought we were going to have a major fist fight, and it turned out he just needed to be heard. That person, you know, was able to talk, did open-ended questions, calmed down. He felt like nobody ever listened to him, and the situation resolved itself within like 10 minutes. You slow, steady conversation. Next. In the event there is a crisis, okay, and something's going on, the biggest thing is you have to decide, is this a crisis or is this somebody being grumbly, okay? So you have to be aware. You have to, you know, tune in. Don't just assume it's a crisis. It could have been somebody that spilled something, was just frustrated because once again they spilled something. You know, it may not be a crisis that needs intervention. It just may need the biggest intervention is just hand them a paper towel. You always approach with two. Have one standing back. If they say, what are you doing, bringing a crowd? You say, no, just making sure, you know, that we just coming to see what help you might need, what we can do to see if we can resolve this. You let the individual speak. Give them a chance to vent. Okay, sometimes that's it. They just want to be heard, right? And so, but what happens is that they want to tell you their whole life story. and they're all going on. But the situation was that they were yelling and they won't put their stuff in the bag, okay? We're trying to check in and they won't put their stuff in a bag, okay? But they're telling you all about when they were in West Virginia doing this and that and this and that, okay? So at that point you could say, you know, I can't help you with that right now, but let's get this addressed, and then afterwards we could talk about that, okay? So when I say don't rush and allow them to talk, that doesn't mean you have to stay there for an hour because they're still telling you their story. Okay, you want to make sure that although you're allowing them to talk, you're doing it in a way that you're steering it back to the situation at hand. All right, be a good listener. A lot of times they're telling you clues. They're giving you ideas of what, you know, how to handle this, but you're not a social worker, okay? You're not there to do a case history on them. You're there to figure out how am I going to de-escalate this situation, and then we can move on with some solutions at another time by giving a referral or something like that. All right, next. Empathetic, not sympathetic. What's the difference? You want to try to see somebody feel, you want to see how somebody feels. You don't want to feel sorry for them. A lot of times, have you ever done something and then somebody's like, oh, poor baby, and it's like irritating, you know, but if they go, wow, you know, it must really stink to be like, it feels a little different. And like I said before, they know when you're acting. And when I say be accepting, be wary of coming across judgmental as well. Really, you felt like you had to do that? You know, but you could just say, wow, that must have been a really tough decision to make, you know. You're giving it to where they have a chance to respond. The I statements, the famous I statements. So if I heard you right, you said this. Am I hearing you right when you say that? It gives them a chance to either say, that's exactly what I said, so now you know you got it right. They go, no, that's not what I meant. Now they're going to give you more information. That's part of it. And then next is a sample of what you can do. Hey, my name's Donnie. What is yours? Oh, George, nice to meet you. Hey, where'd it go? Hey, George, how are you doing? You know, I see you seem really upset. Do you want to tell me what's going on? You know, let them know it's okay not to be okay. You know, it really seems like, you know, you're really angry. And, you know, sometimes it's okay to be angry. You know, let them know it's okay to not be okay. Open-ended questions. I want to understand your concern. Share with me what's going on. You know, why are you upset? You want to limit those yes and no questions. Because if they say, you say, wow, you look upset, yes. Well, you're done. So, and then restate, as I said before, okay, what I hear you saying. So that's an opportunity. Next. And again, open-ended, restatement, you repeat, reframing, you take it out of the original context, place it into another for the sake of clarification. So you're saying if la 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 la, this is what you would do? You know, help me understand, is that what we're talking about? No. So more information, more information. Reflection, recall, this is what we were talking about. You said that isn't the first time, how did you handle it? So they said, well, see, before this happened, or before this, gives you an opportunity that, well, then tell me what's different this time. You know, more information. Okay? Security protocol for a guest that becomes agitated. So you have tried to talk and stuff. They are not letting it go. Okay, they are still being grouchy. They're yelling. And the first thing you want to do is you want to back away. Don't raise your voice. We had a situation at a church where the guest was just, I still don't know to this day what was wrong. He had went out fishing earlier in the day, but for whatever reason, something was agitating him. And he was cussing. Well, that's pretty offensive to a lot of people when you're sitting in God's house and somebody's cussing in it. So the security volunteer said, you need to quit cussing. So he cussed some more. So then he raised his voice thinking, okay, you didn't hear me the first time. You need to quit cussing. It wound up in the security manager and the guests were screaming at each other to where we had to take both of them outside. So wasn't a good way to handle that. So, you know, don't be confrontational and don't turn your back on them. Please don't turn your back on them. And so, like I said, have somebody else there because you may need to have them get the shelter manager or call 911. And so, you know, allow the shelter manager is going to take over. All of our shelter managers have been, well, one's going in a couple of days. But at that point, all of our shelter managers will have mental health first aid training. So they have been trained and certified in how to help people. They're not counselors or psychiatrists, they're not EMTs, but they are first aid for mental health. So next. So when are you going to call for assistance, okay? Well, there's two things you call for. It can be non-emergency or emergency. A non-emergency is when you're thinking, you know what, I've tried my best. I had a situation with a guest who was pacing, wouldn't stop pacing. I tried talking to him, got him calm for 5 minutes, started pacing. Calm, pacing, calm, pacing. I realized, you know what, this is going to go on all night. So I called the non-emergency number. I said, I really need a CIT, that training that I went through. Not that I'll be good at it, but I'll try. But anyway, I called them, had an officer come out, and I think it's because they had a really cool looking uniform that the guy listened to them, but anyway, that's just me. So anyway, but they were able to bring the situation down for the night. The person went back off the next day, but at least for that night, he got a good night's sleep. And so another time is, say if you told the guest, you know what, you're going to have to leave, you've been, you know, I don't, you know, sometimes what they'll do is they'll drink a lot just before they walk in the door. And then about 2 hours later, that full effect of the alcohol takes place. We realize the situation's gotten to where they can't stay, they're going to need to leave. But they're not going to leave. That would be when you might have to call. There's no need to call the police and have them drug out in the car. It may be a situation where the CIT person's able to talk to them, and by the time they finish talking to them, the person's ready to go to sleep. They've still been drinking too much, but they're gone to sleep. So no harm, no foul. And of course, if they're nonviolent, but threatening, but they're being delusional or self-destructive. You know what? I'm sick of this world. I'm going to, you know, take myself out. That's the time you want to call. It's called 988. Please get the shelter manager to do that, because you have to dial whatever area code your phone is where they're going to connect you. So if you've come here from Michigan, you're going to get the Michigan hotline, okay? Not going to be helpful when you ask for resources. Next. When you're going to call, will they become violent? You don't want to get involved, okay? If they're upset about something and you think they're going to get violent, they're just getting, you can tell that pot's just simmering. And just don't wait for it to pop. Just go get the shelter manager. I think we need to call 911, okay? Or they're disoriented or incoherent. We actually had a guest that had a brain, not an aneurysm, might have been an aneurysm, blood clot. Just fell out on the floor and was acting weird. We didn't know what was going on. Turned out that's what it was. He had a brain clot, a blood clot. Okay, next. Okay, so I'm going to go through this pretty fast because most of you guys are going to know this, but I did want to just hit the highlights. Okay, next. So general ideas. Remember, if you're security and you come in and did the temperature check, what are you going to tell the volunteers? Go ahead and sign in, okay? They're not going to know where it is, but you've already walked through the shelter. You know where their sign-in is. Please make sure they know. Some volunteers don't know they're supposed to sign in anywhere. So please make sure you help that. Remember, Will Marie went over the use, okay? So if you see a kid coming in and say, yeah, my mom's going to meet me here, I'm going to help. What do you plan on doing? Oh, sure, come on in. Where's the mom? Where's the parent? Oh, they're not here yet? Can't come in, okay? Cannot be here. You know, like I said, you know, it just can't happen. Many people want their children to experience because they want them to see the different of how they can help and do. But sometimes the scarring that you can do, if a child's not ready for what's there, you know, you have a guest that's having a psychotic moment and we're calling 911. Do you really want a 14-year-old witnessing that? You know, they can handle it, but what if they can't? You know, so now you have two people going to counseling. So that's, you know, that's just one thing. The other thing is when you're security and dinner time, we encourage people to sit down and talk. Okay, you're there, you're security, you see the shelter manager, there's nobody else there, okay? So you need to make sure that if they say, you know what, I need to go do this, okay, I'll stay at the check-in table, or I need to go get a volunteer. You hang tight, I'm going to get a volunteer to come back, because we can't leave that stuff just sitting there alone. All right? And then some of the other things we're aware, the big thing. How many people have been here in the morning where you got to do a wake-up call? They're fun. You don't touch them, okay? Don't touch. Hey, Sally, you wanted a 5 o'clock wake-up call. Sally's not waking up. Sally, That's the best you can do. You can't touch them, okay? And you don't want to yell so loud that you're waking up everybody else either, okay? The phone, we've said it before, say it again. What do they have? They have your phone number if you let them use their phone, so don't do that. Next. Oh, so let's see. Oh, these are just things that when I was telling you going around, these are the things that we're going to depend on you to help us make sure that's on and ready to go, okay? So please, the air purifiers always have to be running. The air purifiers we have 2 of them that are high commercial grade. They purify the air like every hour. So if we're gone for the day, by the time we come, anything that was there from the night before is gone. So we want to, but if they've turned off, then it kind of defeated our purpose of having them. So just little things like that. And like I said, you'll go and, there might be something underneath those mats that should not be there. So it's just good to do that. Make sure you see where the exits are, because we're going to be looking at you going, you know where those exits are? So just things like that. Make sure that there's spray and disinfectant. You're going to be the security, so you're going to need to make sure you have the black bags. You're going to make sure that you have the sign that says what you can keep. You want to have gloves there, and you want to have masks and hand sanitizer. So you want to make sure your station's ready to go. And so these are all the things you need, and it needs time. So if you get there at 6, you're not having time to do any of that. And how are you going to assess a situation if you're rushing? So you want to make sure you're there so that you have time to do that, so that you are being the right hand of the shelter manager. Next. Oh, let's see. Is there anything I want to point out on this? Okay. So you checked with the shelter manager, and she said, you know what? We had 21 guests last night. You know that we only have room for 4 more, and there's 6 guests out there. And they said, yeah, we were hanging out together in Virginia Beach, and we're trying to get to Richmond, but we couldn't make it in time, so we need a place to spend. Well, if you spend the night. So if you already had 21 guests, and there's 6 of them, we're kind of over capacity, aren't we? So at that point, you may want to let them know, because the 21 people that were there the night before, not all of them may show up, but we have to give them until 7:30 to show up. So that's where you're going to be working with that overcapacity. It is in the manual. The manual is located where? On the, very good. I think one person said it. So make sure that you're aware of the overcapacity so you'll know to help go into action with us. The showers, really important. We have white trash bags, so if the church is offering showers, in other words, if you're at a church working and they don't have showers, nobody's getting a white bag, okay, because there's no showers. But if they are, they can have 1 top, 1 bottom. We have socks, we have undergarments. The reason I say that is because you have people that will take a sweatshirt, they have another shirt, they have this, that, okay. No one else in that shelter is going to be able to have all of that different stuff. So you want to make sure it's 1 top, 1 bottom, okay? And the sobriety test, is anybody familiar with sobriety tests? Not that you personally had one, I didn't mean that, just familiar with, okay. So the shelter manager has been trained on 3 to 5 different types of sobriety tests. We will give the guests 3 of those. If they pass 2 out of 3, we'll let them stay. If they fail 2 out of 3, we can't let them stay. But do we kick them out immediately? No. You will be there watching with us, but in the event that they don't pass, we just said, you know what, I can't let you go in the shelter, but why don't you have a seat here? We'll bring you a meal, get something to eat, something to drink, just hang out for a little bit, and then let's test you again. A lot of times after an hour of them sitting there and trying to pull it, they pass it. Okay, and guess what? By that time, what time is it? It's time to get their bedding. So they're just going to get, and so then if they still might not pass, I do the bargaining chip. I said, tell you what, it's 8:15, it's 8:10. You hang tight, and you're on good behavior for 5 minutes, I can let you go on one condition. You get your bedding bag, you go straight to your bed, you don't go talk, you don't go do this, you don't go do that. If you can agree to that, and they say yes, then they go to bed. Was there any harm, any foul? That person got to sleep. Did they cause a disturbance? No. So I've done that. All right, I think that's it for that page. Next. Next. All right. And the doors, we all know that after 9, who can come in after 9? Anybody know? Police? Work related. That's it. That's it. Okay. And of course, the volunteers that are coming for the 1 o'clock, they can come in. All right. That's really it for that. Next. Let's see. I left my cigarettes out in the car and it's almost smoke break. Can I just run out and get them? No. Thank you. Well, you know what? My change of clothes is out there. I left my phone in the car and I got to call my mom. Right. Okay. Thank you. Alrighty. Man, I got a really bad headache. Can you get me some aspirin? No. Who can? There you go. Okay. Thank you. Next. Here's the items. You will have that little plaque. These are the items, all right? We made it really simple. If it's not on there, they don't keep it, okay? The only thing I think I keep forgetting to put on there is a brush or comb. I keep forgetting to put that on. So if they have a brush or comb, that's the other thing they can keep. If it's not on there, they don't do it. Trifold, bifold wallet, or change purse. Not a wallet, not a wallet, okay? Okay? Next. All right, between 10 and 1, there's no shelter manager, okay? So whoever does overnight, all right, one of them will be considered the shelter manager, the security volunteer, okay? Not a lot goes on there, but they do need to be aware, of all the different things that are going on. There's a binder and there's a bin, like a letter-sized bin that is blue, that has all the information you need, and the check-in binder has information. If there's an incident or something like that, you can make notes in there, and it has what you need. The shelter manager, before they leave, will be going over everything. If a guest comes in, even if they're working and they have the right to come in, okay, and they got a ride by the police, take advantage of that and ask the officer, hey, did they seem okay? If they're coming by themselves, you're going to have to do that, okay? If you're one of the overnight people who's the security, you're going to have to just determine if they can come in or not. If you're like, they seem kind of drunk, and you're like, I don't really want to make that call, call me. I don't care. I joke around, tell people, I don't sleep from November to March, okay? I don't care what time you call. It's part of what I know I need to do, all right? For the checkout, the shelter manager's there in the event one of you or you're setting up people for the morning. Same idea. One of the people just help act as security. It's all the same things that go on night, same things in the day as far as any of the behavior. But you just want to make sure they're literally off the property by 7. Some of the churches are okay if it takes them a little bit longer, but there are some that they need them off by 7. All right, next. Nuts, I thought we were almost done. Okay, these things, like they said, there's no substitute for common sense. But this thing right here in the middle, this is really important. Okay, an officer comes. I actually walked into church one time, and there was an officer looking through our check-in book and just reading it, and I was like, excuse me, may I help you? And the volunteers were just letting them because it was a police officer. They felt intimidated and thought, okay, they're looking through it. No, we don't do that, okay? We do not allow anyone, be it an officer or a private citizen and even other volunteers, if they're not working in a check-in desk, we really don't want them looking through all of this. We do electronically now, but still you can look through. So please do not let them look through it. But an officer knocks at the door and says, hey, I want to know if so-and-so's here. You can go, okay, I can't confirm and deny that, but they say, well, we're doing a wellness check. You need that. The officer, most of the time the officers are fantastic. I mean, we got great officers. And most of the time they'll say, hey, I'm Officer Jones, I'm doing a wellness check. We need to know if Sally Smith is here. And then at that point, because they are the officer, then I can look at them and say, yep, she's here. And he says, well, may I talk to her? Okay, does he have a warrant? No, he's doing a wellness check. I will go get Sally Smith and bring her to the officer, okay? The Officer Jones says, I'm here for John Smith, and I have a warrant for his arrest. I don't say, I need to see that warrant. I will take him at his word, and I will say, okay, because there's a warrant, there may be an altercation. So at that point, I say, okay, well, follow me. And then I will take him to the guest. Now, sometimes we've been able to avert that by, say, if it's dinner time, and just say, hey, I need you to come out into the hallway. You know, we've done that before just to alleviate, because of course everybody's eyes, oh, what's going on? So, you know, we've been able to do that. But that's how security will work. With the shelter manager there, you can go to them and say, hey, the police are here. You know, so the shelter manager say, okay, you can go, or the shelter manager may say, okay, I'll take over. Okay. So just remember that. You don't just let the officers come in and just do whatever. We need to know. There's a high anxiety level when they see an officer in uniform because some of their interactions have not been so positive. So we just try to make sure we respect that anxiety and work with it. Next. Inquiries by family. Ring, ring, ring. And you're at night and your shelter phone rings. Ring, ring, ring. Hey, I was wondering, is so-and-so here? Who's calling, please? You know, oh, I'm their mom. I cannot confirm or deny. If you'd like, I can take a message, and if that person is here, I can pass that message on, and it would be up to that person to reach out to you or not. Okay? You never confirm or deny whether somebody is in the shelter or not. The only two exceptions is what I just talked about earlier. Next. These are just signs that you have to make sure that you see throughout the shelter. Next. Okay, so those are just signs. You want to make sure they're up so that if a male decides to wander into the female area, the sign's there so they can see it. But if that sign's not there, how are they going to know? So important to have the signs up. Overcapacity, as I said, it is in the manual. I'm not going to sit there and go through all of that. You guys don't, it's no sense in doing that to you. But just know that we have 25 guests. In the event that it's over capacity, we have it to where we can call various agencies to see if a guest can get set up in a hotel room or some other accommodation. If a guest that we know is abusing that and they come in late with the intention of getting a hotel room, we won't do that. We'll go to somebody who's been a good guest and we'll say, hey, we are at overcapacity. We're sending somebody to a hotel. We'd like to send you. Okay, so, but other than that, we do have it, like I said, the copy of it is with shelter manager. It's also in the training manual. Next. That's it. Any questions? Yes, sir.
For the smoke breaks, we usually send security officers, somebody with them out there. Let's say he goes, hey, you know, I got my lighter, or I got my cigarettes in my car. Instead of bumming it from somebody else, they want to get their own brand. Do you walk with them and again, they're rummaging through their car?
So other people who have done security, what do you think? No. Okay, answer. Why, but why would that be? Can somebody tell me why that, why would you say no? Because you're right there, you're walking with them. Why would you say no? Exactly. You don't know what's inside their car. You don't know what they're really up to. Okay, next. Yes, Melody.
Last year we had a nurse who did a lot of the check-in, and I think she did it for like all the different sites. Is that the case this time?
No, actually, you were the only church that had that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we don't plan on doing that this year. If you need us to, we can still set up that tent and everything. If any of the churches need to, they just didn't need to last year. Each church has a unique setup to them. So yours was in this type of setup, but I didn't think we did it last year. Was it last year? Was it the year before? Now I can't even remember. She left, but she did say she'd be available. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Yeah. Hey, Jim.
If we get a new guest after 10 o'clock, when shelter left, do we do a full intake or we just do the sex offender?
No, so if you get a new guest and it's after 10, okay, the police will be bringing them. Because and so what you do is you just tell the guest, hey, can you hang on a second? And you ask the officer to the side and just say, hey, do they appear sober enough to come in? Or do they see high or drugs, whatever? And then say, would you do a sex offender check for me? They do it. So then when you do the intake, you still have to do the intake because we don't know who they are. So we still want the ID, and that's what else I asked the officer. is I will say, hey, do you have an ID? And they say no. I look right at the officer. I say, can you verify who they are? And if they say yes, where it says ID, you say verify by officer. And that's all we need. If they verified them, I'm good. But yeah, you still have to do all the paperwork, but you will ask the officer to do it. It just saves you from having to do it and knocks it right off. Any other questions? No? Well, thank you so much for staying after. I sure do appreciate it. I tried to do it as quick as possible, but it's just being security is just really important. And so please know that you're very valuable. Thank you so much for coming. This concludes. And Lord Jesus, I just pray extra blessing on these people who are willing to do security. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you, Wynn.
So we have showers.
Okay.